going railfanning, I usually leave the house with one of three mindsets. We're either going straight to a hotspot to sit back and watch trains pass, heading out for one specific train or interesting movement on the railroad, or days like today, where the plan really isn't set in stone, just catching what the railroad offers. Hello again, rail fans, and welcome back to another trackside outing. It's Tuesday, February 1st, 2021, and we're southbound on I-275 into Tampa. Tonight, the Floridian winter weather would be at its best, with the sun being fully set around 6 p.m. First stop of the evening is North 39th Street. We'd come to find out that the northbound Silver Star Amtrak PO92 was currently in the Tampa Union Station, so we decided to hang around when the signal went green and the lighting got perfect. We noticed something that's becoming a more common sight nowadays in highly industrial areas. The small half-mile runaround track from what I presume to be a track to bypass the Navy Y has been fully ripped up. After some research, it occurred to me that this track hadn't been used in over 10 years, with rust and weeds proving its fate. But it's still sad to see rails that one time carried the weight of trains being ripped up, never to be used again. The new track parallel to it is still being used, however, with rail tops getting repolished over 5 times a day. This section of track, west of Uceda Yard, was relaid sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas of 2021. Now, instead of hearing the clickety-clack of jointed rail, trains in Ybor City will now smoothly ride on continuous 136-pound welded rail. The reason for the replacement is still a bit foggy, but it does mean that Tampa's Amtrak station will now be able to host 6-axle power again. What used to be the main line to the port where phosphate and other commodities were shipped out 24/7 now carries CSX locals and trains like Amtrak 92, notching up out of its Tampa station stop. With Locomotive 145, the 40th year anniversary heritage unit leading, 92 powers his way north. Today he would be a sizable train with 3 coaches, 1 cafe car, 6 sleepers, and a baggage car bringing up the rear. Until mid-March, Amtrak has canceled the Silver Meteor service, making the Silver Stars a bit longer for the time being. With 92 out of the way, a local coming off the ex-Seaboard's Clearwater Sub would be in line next to cross TN and enter Yeoman Yard. With GEVOs all on 442 and 046, we decided to set up at 50th Street at the south end of Yeoman Yard. I decided to use my zoom lens for this shot because these massive highway crossings have always been awesome to me, with many lights, bells, and gates all activating in coordinated chaos to welcome the approaching train. With a 1973 built ex-Louisville and Nashville Jeep 38-2, 0700 crawls into Yeoman Yard with quite the train of boxcars, hoppers, and autoracks. 50th Street would be blocked for over 10 minutes between the stop to throw a switch and the 50-plus Autorack train traveling around 10 miles per hour. 0700 is a daily turn from Tampa's Yeoman Yard to Drew Park in North Tampa. All the Autoracks you see on him tonight will be on tomorrow's Q442 north to Waycross. About 20 minutes after 0700 entered the yard, 0728 called the dispatcher to head to Brooksville. This was the main purpose of our outing tonight, as 728 usually runs on Tuesday nights along with Thursdays and Sundays. However, tonight would be different. Sundays, 728 usually switches industries around Lutz and Lando Lakes. But the Sunday prior to this outing, Yeoman Yard was understaffed and 728 never ran. So the hope was to see a loaded lumber center beam bound for Lutz in the consist, and 5 cars into the train, the surprise awaited. Our chase of 0728 would start here at North 34th Street. About an hour and a half before, we saw Y191 from a distance cross here on his way to the port of Tampa to switch industries in the area. In the evenings, this spot can get pretty busy between port jobs and trains heading up to Clearwater Sub. 26 loaded cement cars would be in trail on 728 today, making this Jeep 40-3 work hard to power it out of Tampa. But once he was clear of TN, he wasn't wasting any time. From here, we'd hop onto I-275 and go straight to Lutz, and after waiting for about half an hour, 728 would be revving up across US 41 and through the quiet streets of Lutz.
The chase begins. Four empty center beams there, so the question is the center beam behind the scrap guns going to be switched here, or is that destined for 84 lumber in Brooksville? There's only one way to find out.
Pulling off just after Tibbetts, the gates are going back up to signify the stop of 0728. This would guarantee a switching operation of Tibbetts Lumber, one that I've actually never witnessed. An employee at Tibbetts had informed me of the ungodly hours that they usually receive cars during the night, so 8 p.m. on a Tuesday really wasn't half bad. Although the lighting was terrible, this was definitely something to document. First move was to uncouple the center beam from the hoppers and pull past the switch and into the spur to pick up the empties. The conductor would have many back and forth trips during this operation, just showing how labor intensive the railroad can be. Next, 728 would couple back onto the hoppers and pull them all the way past the switch. Then the engineer backed it into the spur to recouple onto the loads and empties. This was definitely a coordinated ordeal, with not much space or light to work with. Now all 5 center beams are pulled out of the spur. The bottom 4 are empty and are ready to be transported back to Tampa, with the load being for Tibbetts. So 728 drops the loads on the main and finally spots the load into place. This whole time the conductor had been communicating with the Tibbetts yard manager to make sure all equipment was out of the way and the car was correctly positioned for safe unloading. Finally, the conductor closes and locks the spur gate and derail, throws the switch back to normal, and gets on the last center beam to ride to the next industry, that being Pasco Iron and Metal, only being a couple miles up the line. Here's where our eventful Tuesday night would end, as it was already 9:30 and there was school the following day. I hope you enjoyed this video and please consider subscribing. We're closing in on 900 subscribers, which would be another great milestone. But until we meet again on the High Iron, this is Christian from Multicolor Films. End of transmission.